afternoon, everybody. Jason from Remax here. Just wanted to thank you guys for tuning in to this week's JayVUpdate. As you saw, Jason Van Amersfoort magnetic fridge calendars are in. So if you'd like one of these, shoot me a message. I'll definitely send one over to you or drop one off in person. I may just show up and drop one off even if you don't ask for one. So keep your eye open for that. A lot of cool stuff this week that I wanted to go over, but I'll try to keep it brief. This week on Wednesday, we sat in on our annual Housing Insights conference at Binghamton's down on the other side of Kitchener there. And what this is they brought in a panel of a few higher ups in government and through the National Real Estate Association to go over some of the trends that we saw this past year and what their predictions might be for the future. Obviously, no one has a crystal ball, but these are the people who would know, the economists and people who are tracking the data that we've been looking at for the last year and things that I've been bringing up to you. So, three major things stood out to me in terms of these housing insights. So the first of which is that in Kitchener-Waterloo, one of the gentlemen who was speaking there was looking at the Greater Horseshoe area, a pretty substantial part of the province of Ontario in terms of population, in terms of growth right now, and in terms of obviously real estate transactions. There's a lot of data there, and the Greater Horseshoe area is one of those areas that kind of balances or is comparable to Toronto in size, right? They have to take in a number of cities into consideration for that. And in the Greater Horseshoe area, we kind of fall in that. And Kitchener-Waterloo, over this past year or two, as crazy as it has been here for us, with prices jumping up very quickly and then seeming to halt at a very abrupt pace, we have actually seen less than the average variance in the Greater Horseshoe area. If you look at cities like Brantford, Hamilton, even Niagara, these areas saw a very, very significant spike and halt, even more than what we saw here in Kitchener-Waterloo. So I thought that was kind of interesting, because being here and speaking with a lot of you about how crazy this market seems, we have actually stayed more consistent than many of our neighboring towns. So I thought that was very interesting, and I've been pondering why that might be, and I'll definitely be thinking about it a little bit more, but definitely a neat point. Even with this less than average variance we've seen, Kitchener-Waterloo stood out to me in all of the data that we saw in terms of months of inventory. Kitchener-Waterloo is sitting a little over a month of current housing inventory. I've talked about housing inventory a lot in these and in my newsletters. And Kitchener-Waterloo is lower than is expected. It's significantly lower than some of our neighboring towns. Specifically, each city, they determine through some pretty interesting calculations what they expect to be like their safe and stable months of inventory stat. And so somewhere like Kitchener-Waterloo may expect to see a lower housing inventory than maybe a smaller town outside in Listowel or something like that. And so we do expect to see Kitchener-Waterloo's to maybe be a bit lower than some, but relative to that expected and desirable number, Kitchener-Waterloo is definitely behind the mark on that. So we'll have to see how that goes. And that goes back to, we need the supply. We need more to be built, and that's what they're doing now. And the projected view of most of the people who are speaking there on Wednesday is that we're expecting to see a more balanced resale market through 2019. So it would be very surprising for us to start seeing us jump back up into 20 offers on a home that's been on the market for a week, things like that. We'll be expecting to see, hopefully, our months of inventory creep back up a little bit and get back into a little bit safer market in that term. So another thing I want to talk about is staging. And so this week I had another staging consultation. I offer them to anybody that I work with, anybody who lists with me. And so staging is one of those things a lot of people don't really understand what the value of it is, and there are a few features of it to me that really stand out. And the main thing is that it's like when someone is dressing up, let's say you're going to a good friend's wedding or a gala, or you're going to an event, you want to look nice because people are going to be looking at you. You're going to dress up, maybe do your hair, throw some makeup on, you're going to wear your nicest glasses, maybe your nicest jacket. You do that not because your personality is changing or because your bones are any different. What you're doing is trying to put your best foot forward. And that leaves a great impression. In real estate, it can be very tricky, right? There's a reason why we go with the best photographers we can find and the best marketing materials we can, because it is all about that first impression, and it's about getting people's eyes on your property and having a good feeling about it. So what staging often does, and what I usually find with it, is it's more about realizing where your clutter is. How can we make your space feel larger, feel more welcoming, and maybe take away or take a step back from your personal belongings that are sitting in your home. And so it's not to say that, no, it's not that you are disorganized, it's not that you are messy, it's not that you don't have great taste. It's about trying to neutralize that so that the most people come in and have the best interaction with your property to really make it stand out and sell its strengths. So staging is something that I think is very valuable, and because of that, I do offer it to sellers who are comfortable having somebody come through and give them that feedback. So ask me about that anytime. I've got some great people in mind, even if you are just looking for a facelift for yourself in your own property and would like a little head start on some interior design tips. I've got someone in mind. This week's tip of the week, pulling back a little bit from the real estate side of it, I went to a dinner a week and a half ago with a friend of mine, and something that she had brought up was that as the weather starts to turn and it starts getting colder outside, people kind of get bummed out as they scrape the ice off their car that first time. Sometimes we really need to be reminded to sit back and be grateful for some of the things in our lives. So this week's tip is take a minute and think about some of those things that you really value in your life. The American Thanksgiving is this week, and ours is obviously past already, but this is just a friendly reminder to think about those things and those people and those events in your life that really stand out and make you feel special. So that's this week's tip of the week, and thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Have a nice weekend.